Everyone, Kelvin here. So this is like second week of our videos, right? So would be basically the last time we talked about how to design. We designed the sign up page, and basically we designed just without observing principles of design, right? So I want to quickly talk about principles of design and also wireframing, right? So principles of design is basically um the guides that like constitutions that govern or guides a designer while they are designing, right? So these are not principles that you would see physically, like you have to say it out, but it is there. It is when you look through that you can see. So you basically, it's not loud, it's not outspoken, but it tends to make everything look really nice, right? So the first one we have in our principles of design is contrast, right? So contrast is basically the difference between various elements within a design that makes them stand out from each other, right? So this is a perfect example. You notice this design you can see here. This is a dark deep blue background. Now they used a lighter shade of blue for this text, and they use the white so that we can know that in as much as this text is a title, it is bigger, you still see that it is white. Then this smaller text is a different color. It is just so that it directs the user's eye, and user's eye can detect things easily because of the color changes, the contrast, right? So then the images, you just know that this is an image. So contrast just helps you a lot to make interfaces when you are designing an interface look really nice, and you can tell the difference between various elements. So that's basically it, right? So the second one we have is balance. So balance is basically you know making your items on equal weight, side by side, right? So basically it's aligning, making sure things are properly aligned. Okay, not that, oh, one is aligned to the left, the other one is aligned to the right, right? So let me just quickly open a mobile UI for us. So once you, let's say we open a simple mobile UI, right? Let's take this for example. Okay, so you notice the balance, right? So sorry, just want to pick something that we can easily talk about. Just give me a moment. Okay, awesome. So you notice the balance, like this is well aligned from the top to the bottom, right? Along the same line. This is well aligned as well, apart from this carousel. If you go to this main page here, you see everything is well aligned. Like everything, once you look at it, you notice that everything is just well arranged, right? If something is out of place, immediately you would know it is out of place, right? So just know that, oh, this is not well balanced, right? So let me just read what we have here. So balance can be symmetrical with items of equal weight or either side of a center line, or asymmetrical with items of different weights laid out in a relation to a line that may or may not be centered. So all of this we're just saying is big English, but what balance is in a nutshell is, when you look at a design, what do you see? How does it look really appealing to the eye? All right, it should be some. If you notice this picture, for instance, can you see this one I'm circling around, right? Notice the images are not, this is a Mansory picture layout, right? So they are not equal, but you notice they lap properly. Like where this one stop, that's maybe this one is a bit longer, but they are well arranged, is in a balanced way, right? So that is basically it. You notice they are not the same shape, right? One is bigger than one, but they still interlock each other properly, right? So that's basically what balance is. All right, so let me just go to the next one. Emphasis. So even if as long as we have this, you can also go online, research more about these principles of designs, and get to know how these things works and how they apply to everyday design. All right, so emphasis basically causes certain parts of a design to stand out compared to other elements. So conversely, it can also be used to minimize how much an element stands out, such as a fine print. All right, so now in the part of UI UX, emphasis is very important. So like I always say, a um a reader's eye, as a designer, you are supposed to direct the user to know which one they should see and which one they should not see. So emphasis and hierarchy, they kind of correlate to an extent, right? So you basically need emphasis, so that if you notice this website, they are emphasizing more on 5 times faster, right? Reason is because they want people to quickly know that they are good. They do let me say, they do the same thing other companies do, sell gift cards and crypto, but they are 5 times faster. So emphasis, they emphasize on this. Also, emphasis, also you can still work on emphasis with, you can still link emphasis to repetition, right? So that means you are repeating something over and over again, right, in a consistent manner, not in a scattered manner. All right, so the next thing we have is proportion, right? So proportion is basically the size of elements in relation to one another. Larger elements tend to be seen as more important, while smaller ones are less so, right? So now we just basically, like, from what we're talking about, emphasis. So proportion is basically how you're able to arrange your designs in such a way that you can emphasize on some things and put little emphasis on other things, but everything still finds a way to, you can see this website, everything still finds a way to pass the message. Now this third line here is just a very small text, but they complement each other, from this first one, the second one, and the third one, in such a way that people can still get the message. All right, so that's just the main goal, people can still get the message. Okay, so that's basically it, right? So that's proportion. So whenever you're designing, the same thing I showed when I was talking about this, you can see this picture is smaller, this one is bigger, but they find a way to make it well arranged, that they just basically they are able to find a way to make it look more professional and more appealing to the eyes, right? So that's basically what proportion does. So now hierarchy is basically so it refers to importance of elements within a design, right? So you can basically say the most important element should appear to be the most important, and vice versa, right? So like I said on this website, 5 times faster is like the most important information at the top here. They already know that, oh, you can trade your gift cards. Whoever came to this website already know you can trade gift cards, but that 5 times faster makes everything, emphasizes that they are very, very fast, right? So everybody, maybe a lot of people already know how to trade their gift cards and stuff like that, but this 5 times faster is more like, in terms of hierarchy, they increase it and emphasized more on it to make it to catch the eyes of users, right, to catch their attention. So it is very important that we understand how hierarchy works. Now you notice they arranged it and arranged it. So a hierarchy is basically, what do you want when a user uses your mobile app or website? What do you want them to see more? What do you want them to see first? You get, right? So it's all of that. How do you arrange them? How do you direct the user, that they know, okay, from this place I need to go to this place, do this, what I need to see first, and all of that, right? Hierarchy still deals with the order of things, right? So imagine you're designing a mobile app, and the form where you're supposed to put in your information, they have to say, they have to do something like there's no where they can put in their first name and stuff like that. They have to, that the first name and last name will now be the last on the list, and they have to start with phone number. It just out of place. It's just out of place, right? So that's basically it. Repetition. So repetition reinforces the idea or perception. It can be done via things like using the same format for headers, using the same colors, images, or similar choices. Now repetition is very, very important because it makes your design very consistent. Okay, so the kinds of colors you use, make sure so we have different shades of colors, right? We've already talked about that last week. We have different shades of colors, right? So but you have to use the exact color you started with already, right? So let's say for instance we have this purple. Okay, you have to use the exact same purple to design. You can't deviate and start using something else. All right, so it is very, very important that you use the exact same purple, which is the hex code. Now you have to use the hex code to get that exact color. All right, so repetition helps you that you're able to reuse your things like button, text, the sizes. It makes your design very consistent. All right, it makes your design very consistent, and it looks the same. It doesn't look different. Like I leave from one page to the next page, and my page just changes automatically, or it looks as if I'm in a different app, right? So repetition makes everything look very, very consistent. Okay, so the next thing we'll talk about is rhythm, right? So rhythm is basically the space between elements can so when you say this, the space between elements can create a sense of rhythm, right? Either regular or irregular, right? Rhythms can be used to create a variety of emotions, including calmness with regular rhythms and excitement with irregular rhythms, right? So rhythm is basically the mood which the website. So there's some websites you see, they look, it's just give you a vibe, right? So rhythm is basically the way, the feel that users get when they get to your they get to use your product, either a website or a mobile app. The feel that comes with it, how they are able to navigate, all of those things, they merge together to form a rhythm for your product, right? So I'll jump quickly. Next one we have is pattern, right? Patterns can refer to a repetition of design elements as seen in, like the wallpaper patterns. They can also refer to a set of standards of for how certain elements are designed, such as top navigation, right? So pattern is basically a set of way that something is being done repeatedly. All right, so it's still, I would still equate it to repetition, right? So you basically have to make sure you reuse the things, like let's say the buttons. You don't start drawing another button, so you can get like this corner radius. For instance, you can get the exact same measurement. If you notice, the corner radius on this creates an account, and this one, they are the same, right? They are the same, they look all identical, just that some are longer than some because of the information or the content that is here, right? So it is very, very important that you add all of these things to it. It is very, very important, right? So the next thing we'll talk is white space. White space is one of the most important elements or principles that you need to adhere to, right? So we have white space, or negative space, refers to areas of a design that have no design elements. This space is important for making a design uncluttered, as well as for making various elements stand out. So now everything you see here, all these empty spaces, are called white spaces. We can also call them negative space. Now, not because it's white, that's why we're calling it white space. Even this part that is purple, can call it, is also called a white space. So if you notice, white space is the way they make, the designer makes use of spaces to achieve a design and make it look really really appealing to the eye, right? So you can see this line here, everything is is very consistent with this line. All right, so the white space was really made use, like they made use of white space properly. Here you can see the line, the space, negative space, you can see the spaces in between, just to make everything look visually appealing, right? Doesn't make things look so clustered, right? So it makes your design, I will call it, some extent I'll say it makes your design breathe properly. All right, so white space is really really important, and it's one of like the most important principle that you need, right? So the next one is movement. Movement is the way a person's eyes travel over a design. The most important elements should lead to the next important, and so on. This can be done via positioning, emphasis, and other design principles. Now this movement is just basically emphasizing on the other principles I've spoken about, right? So when you basically obey the white space, you use your hierarchy, your emphasis, your repetition, it would aid the user or the visitor of the website to see and know what to check first and what not to check. They know what is more important than some other things, because the way it is, or the way the obeying other principles has allowed experiencing this this product much more easy, right? So that's basically what movement is, right? So variety basically creates visual interest in a design. It can be created via typography, color, images, textures, virtually any other design elements. It presents designs from becoming monotonous and boring. So variety is just basically how you merge things, right? And merging things doesn't mean that they need to now look so different, right? So if you notice, there are a lot of elements, or a lot of stuffs here. There's text, there is button, there is the phone, there are colors, there are just different things. But if you notice, overall, when you look at the website, it still maintains that look that makes everything look really really nice, right? So that's what variety is, how you merge everything together and just create an amazing product. Now unity is how well the the elements of a design work together, right? Each element should have a clear visual a relationship with each other, elements, to help communicate a clear concise message. So now let me go back to that mobile app. Like I was talking about these images, you see how united they are, that this one is short, right? This one is long, but they made sure this other one under is long and this one is short, so that they complement each other on this side, on the left side, and on the right side, right? So that's what unity does. Unity, you for you to be able to achieve that unity on on designs, they need to like connect with each other. They need to align with each other and be the same sizes, right? So this is another example. If you look at this top here, it has a bigger chart and it has smaller charts, but you notice that these smaller charts, they still find a way to align it with this one, that if you are to draw another bigger rectangle, it will still fit the three of them, right? Not that one is longer than one, it's looking scattered and all of that. So unity is very very important. Okay, so I got these resources from TopTal, right? TopTal is one of like the biggest freelancing platforms that you can get a job as a UI UX designer, right? A professional UI UX designer, right? So they pay really well, and you can also check out their websites. All right, so now the next thing we'll be talking about is wireframe, right? So let's talk about wireframe real quick. So wireframe is basically how a is just like a design plan. All right. So, and we have two types of wireframe. We have the, what is it called, low fidelity wireframe, and we have the high fidelity wireframe. So the low fidelity wireframe is basically the one that allows um users to that allows the designer, enables the designer to know or create how a mobile app should look like, right? So sorry, I'm just coming, I'm trying to get this a particular example I always love to use. Sorry, oh, I can't find it currently now. There's a particular example that I love making use of. So, but in a nutshell, this is how a wireframe is. So it's basically like especially low fidelity is what you sketch how things are going to be placed in a mobile app or a website, right? So you can draw wireframes for anything, any interface at all. If you are designing for Apple Watches, mobile phones, websites and all of those things, right? So wireframe is very, very important. Just like an architect cannot start building without the use of a what is it called now, a ground plan, right? So the ground plan is basically, it allows the architect to be able to know what and what is possible, right? What and what is possible, where the bathroom is going to be located, where the room, the living room, which side is the window going to be placed. So it is that ground plan they use, then they now show it to the contractor or the engineer, then they start building upon it, right? So you don't just wake up and go to the site and just start building like that, right? So then what happens if you have an issue and you look at it that, okay, with the way wind blows, this window is not supposed to be here, then the next thing you start breaking down the wall to take the window somewhere else, right? So you don't want to make that kind of mistake, right? So it's the same thing in when we're designing. So these wireframes, they help you to know this is where your logo is supposed to be, this is where your text is supposed to be. It makes you to even know while you are because most times when you are designing a mobile app for someone, it is the number of screens that it would entail that will now enable you to charge the client, right? So with wireframe, you'll be able to know how many screens you actually need so that you can be able to charge your client properly, right? So that you don't cheat yourself or overcharge, right? So wireframes enables designers, give you a guide, also save you time. It saves a lot of time, like I cannot emphasize this enough. It saves a lot of time because you have an action plan. Okay, from this screen I'll get to the next screen, I'll get to the next screen, right? Just imagine a user tells you, design a logistics app for me. So when you go from the home screen, what is going to be on the next screen, right? You don't need to start thinking about it while you are designing. With this wireframe, it helps you to be able to understand it properly. You know where you are going to, you're not going back and forth. It saves you enough time, right? So I cannot emphasize wireframing a lot enough, right? So but wireframe, it is amazing, it gives you a headway. So this is the low fidelity, so you can use your paper, right? I love using my notebooks to sketch out my designs. It helps me make my designs more relatable, right? It is easy for me and faster for me. A lot of people can use iPads, a lot of people can use FigJam, right? FigJam to design wireframes, right? FigJam is also a product of Figma, right? So you can design low fidelity wireframes there. So then also, first of all, before you do this wireframe, the first thing you need to have is a user flow. So I said in our previous class that user flows are basically steps or a way to explain from the beginning a user is going to make use of a product to the end. So imagine now someone tells me walk me through the user flow of an ATM machine, right? I can just basically say, okay, you slot in your card the first time, right? Then the next thing you do is you type in your password. No, first things first, it will display your name, right? Because it has validated through the chip that this is the owner of the card. Then you tell you put in your pin. When you put in your pin, the next thing will tell you that oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to withdraw? Do you want to inquire and all of that? If you say you want to withdraw, the next thing will tell you do you want to savings or current, do you want a receipt? Do you get? So all of those things are wireframes, or I'm sorry, user journey, right? So it will tell you all of these processes, right? We also can call it user flow, right? It will tell you all of these processes from beginning to the end. So it enables you to know, even while you've not started the project, where the project is supposed to stop, right? So that's what user flow does. User flow is very, very important. So there are other stuffs that we can talk of, right? So but because of time, would basically stop at wireframe, right? So now, two things: when you're designing, you already know how to design. Let's say for instance you already know how to design, you know the design principles and all of that, right? When you want to start a project, after you've done your research, remember we talked about research, you have to define, you have to ideate, you have to research and all of that. When you're doing your design thinking, the next thing you do is you have to draw a user flow, right? Based on your research and your findings you've gotten, you have to draw a user flow. From that user flow, the next thing you have is a wireframe, right? A wireframe that shows you. Now the user flow is more like you are drawing screens that will come up. Now, wireframe is like you are drawing contents of each screen that is going to be on the mobile app or the website. All right, you see the difference now. So user flow is like you are drawing screens that would be in the product, like either a mobile app or a website. So you say you notice. Let me show you an example of a user flow, right? User flow. So you can see something like this. You say entry, welcome, select tax, number one, you have this, right? Or to just tell you start, browse pictures, choose pictures, add to wish list. This is like a user flow. Now you can notice these things are just screens. So now once you open this browse pictures, for instance, what is going to be there? What kind of pictures? Where is the button going to be located? How is it going to be placed? That is what we are now talking about during wireframing, right? So now you've gotten that these are the screens that are going to be there. Now in wireframing, you now have to specify how these screens will look like, right? It is very, very important you have these action plans, right? So it's very, very important. Yes. So the next thing we talk about is the high fidelity. So high fidelity is like the actual design, right? So say high fidelity. High fidelity is just like the actual design, right? This was the picture I was looking for, right? So this is the low fidelity, or low fidelity wireframe that you just basically design and you just basically sketch out. Notice how the lines are not so straight. Then you have this, right? This is also a low fidelity. Then we have the high fidelity, so you can see the actual screen. This is the CTA that was here, this is the login that was here, this is the picture that was here, this is the text that was here, this is the logo that was here, right? So all of those things, then when you put them in high fidelity, it comes alive and you can basically start designing, right? So that's basically what wireframing is, right? Let me see if there's something else we're supposed to talk about. Okay, yeah. So I'll also talk about types of pages, types of websites, right? So types of websites. So like I said, we have different types of websites, right? But let me just all websites are pretty much similar, but they have the way they look like, right? So because we've already talked about this in class, I will just breeze through it. Right now, I said there are different types of websites. We have the e-commerce website, we have the business website, we have the portfolio website, we have the media website, we have the infopreneur website, we have the educational website, and we have the non-profit website. So these are different types. There are even more types of websites, right? But the thing is, all websites are the same, right? So now the same in the sense that, let me open this. Now this is a website. They have the header, right? They have the body, and they have the footer, right? So now these websites basically have this, but inside, let's say this place now, like this first place is what we call the hero section, right? It's still inside the body, right? Then they have, sometimes some people will call this the sub body, right? So but it's the body, okay? Then you can add so many things. You notice this body can get as long as possible. Like you can add so many content. Some websites are really really long. Then you notice this is where the footer stops, right? E-commerce websites still the same thing. Let's open Jumia's website, right, real quick. You notice it still has the header at the top, right? Then it has this what I call it now, hero section. Okay, it's still the body, right? You notice this still the body, this still the body, this still the body. You can see how long it is, right? Then the footer. Okay, so all of these things you've been scrolling through is inside the body of the website. So it just has, an actual website has just three categories: the header, the body, and the footer. All right, so you need to put that at the back of your mind, right? Every other thing we add is just addition. Okay, so it now depends on the type of website you want to design. If you are designing for a startup, let's say a software company, right, the way the website is going to look like is not the way an e-commerce website is going to look like. An e-commerce website is filled with so many pictures, so many things trying to draw your attention. There are just too many things all around going. You can see how many text, images, adverts, and things that are going around on this website, right? That is because this is an actual e-commerce website. So you notice they have mega menus, right? These are called mega menus. These are like actual menu, right? Menu that has other menus inside, right? That's what we call mega menu. So they have so many things inside, right? So you can notice it has a lot of things located inside of this menu. So that's why it's called a mega menu. So mega menus are usually very very what you see a lot of times in e-commerce websites. It seldomly shows up in other types of websites. It's not every time, but you always find it in e-commerce websites, because they have a lot of products to show, so they just put them in categories. So let's say sporting goods, now it has cardio training, this, so it has a lot of things that are embedded in there, right? So we have that. So then we also have a business website, we have portfolio websites. So portfolio websites are basically like pictures mainly for pictures, to showcase your work and all of that, right? So as we go forward, we begin to know each type of websites that we have, and now notice how it is being designed, right? Thank you so much for listening and watching, right? Seeing you in the next video. Thank you.